Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers. My name is Brittnie Bassant, President and CEO of Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce, and today I'm here with Omar from VirtuWorks. Omar, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk all things technology with you, but before we start, let's just get into VirtuWorks. What is VirtuWorks? What do you do? Who do you serve? Tell me all about this company that you've built.
All right. VirtuWorks is a 30-year-old business. We're a Microsoft Tier 1 CSP solutions provider. We provide companies basic, management over their Microsoft services, from managing user identities all the way through doing infrastructure, Azure, hosting, cybersecurity, and now AI.
And you really started as this small Miami ISP, and then you've built into like this huge technology company. You kind of did this before the internet was what it is today.
Me and my best friend from preschool, we started this business together back in 1994. We started as a break-fix IT services company, moved on into basically, right off the bat, I was really crazy into technology, and the internet was just starting. And I convinced, my father, my uncle, to give us a loan to basically start an internet service. We went out and bought, T1 lines back then were like $5,000-$6,000 a month. It was some crazy thing. We bought hardware for modems and stuff, and I signed up about 2,000 or 3,000 users, and ISDN modems got into, kind of like business internet. And then from there, we moved on into, fixing break-fix. And around 2007, we started doing managed services, which is kind of like the, flat IT service product that we do now.
That's really, and so you're talking, right? And we're going all the way back to 1994 and over 3 decades of innovation. And you're talking about some stuff that I don't even know half the things that you just said. Like you were saying some things and I was like, okay, I have no idea.
I'm sorry about that.
No, but that's fine, because it just goes to show how much technology continues to advance. Like you're talking about like the early days of technology, and then we everything moved to like cloud storage, and like that was the biggest craze. And now, of course,
we've reinvented ourselves probably 4 or 5 times over the past 30 years.
You have to, because
100%.
you have to evolve and adapt. And so the technology continues to grow and evolve and adapt. And now the biggest thing is, of course, AI. But as you look over those 3 decades, three plus decades of innovation and adapting and evolution, tell me how you mentioned a little bit, you've reinvented yourself a few times,
right.
But talk to me about how you guys keep up with that and evolve and adapt and
well, I think it's you have to have a lot of energy to stay on top of everything that's happening in real time, and kind of embrace change, right? Change is probably the biggest thing that's kind of occurring all the time around me, and being ahead of that and seeing, kind of trying to look into the future of what people are going to need tomorrow rather than what people are doing today is probably one of the biggest things that I do. I kind of try to live in the future a little.
You have to sort of almost like try to predict what's coming next. Yeah. And that's difficult, but
not sleep at night because you're worried about those things.
I'm going to talk about what keeps you up at night later. But, so again, we can't talk about technology. We can't talk about what's next without talking about what's currently here. And that's AI, right? So AI is everywhere. It's here, whether you like it or you don't, it's here. And we have to figure out a way to, again, adapt and evolve and accept it, because it's not going anywhere. And so there's this new term, AI readiness. And what does that mean? What does that mean, not just for a consumer, but for a business specifically when we talk about AI?
Yeah, well, if you go back over the past, I would say 5 to 10 years, there's been a lot of stress, people talking about cybersecurity and, the amount of ransomware attacks and, kind of, intrusions that people have. It's all over the news all the time. You see every next company, had an intrusion. AI is basically exacerbating that, because it's AI sees everything, right? So if you were worried about your cybersecurity before, now you throw some AI agents on that stuff, and it's going to find every single corner, every single gap, and now empower your employees with that tool, and it's very easy for them to find things that before they would have never found, right? And it really makes it important for you to kind of holistically think about how your information is secured and locked down.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because that's also a service that you provide, is cybersecurity services, correct? Right. And so talk about what business should know, because technology is advancing, and you may think you're protected, and you may think, okay, yeah, I've got my stuff, taken care of.
I think the biggest thing that they should know is that they shouldn't just trust the cloud to be secure just because, it's Microsoft.
Because you have a password
Google,
on it?
You have a password on it. There's all kinds of levels and layers to cybersecurity, and really kind of engaging and trying to create a full plan, and really understand where you're at is probably the most important thing, is understanding your current position, so you understand the risk and you understand what's possible, right? How could somebody get to me? What do I really need to do? Do I have the right protections in place?
Yeah, and if they're not sure, then they can give you guys a call, because that's
correct,
what you do. Is you'll help them assess that.
That's right.
And understand where there are those gaps and how they can fix them. Mm-hmm. Let's talk, getting back to AI a little bit, because I know there's so many questions. I mean, it's the hottest thing right now in technology, and everyone wants to know more. And again, you have some people that are like, absolutely not doing anything with it. They push it away, and there are people that embrace it wholeheartedly and use it for everything. And then you've got the people in the middle. But I want to talk about a little bit of AI facts versus AI fears, because I think there's arguments on both sides. So let's talk about that. What are some AI facts and what are some AI fears?
AI facts, it's not as smart as everybody thinks it is, or what everybody tries to sell it in the news. It hallucinates a lot. It makes a lot of mistakes. Experience is still incredibly important. You can't make an inexperienced person knowledgeable with it.
Absolutely. And what are some of the fears? Like, what should people be a little bit more cautious about? When I say like AI facts and AI fears, like the facts, like what should we be excited about, and then the fears, what should we be cautious?
The cautious is giving it too much trust, and basically letting it, go out and do things without supervision.
The underlying theme that I'm getting from you here is that, like, don't just trust in the technology. Like,
you should never trust in technology.
Trust but verify. I think
30 years, I've never given that other advice, right? With everything new, you have to tinker with it and fully understand it, before you could actually give it any kind of, how do you say it, that's worthy, or I don't know the good word for it. Yeah. But yeah, you can't just jump into something and say, hey, it's awesome, and then have it work. With my own experience with AI, I started off tinkering with it and finding all the kind of, places where, it doesn't work well, and then that experience kind of feeds into my daily use now. And, I know what I can and cannot do with it, but not everybody goes through that exercise.
Well, and that's why you exist and your company exists, and you can now be leveraged as a tool and a resources for the businesses and for our members that maybe have no idea that they should be looking at some of these things. Yep. So we've talked a lot about that. We've talked a lot about AI. We've talked about technology. We've talked about cybersecurity. We've talked about how all of these things are intersected. And something that you have mentioned consistently is, don't just put I think blind trust is probably what we were trying to think of earlier. Yeah. Don't put that blind trust into it. You need to have someone who's advising and guiding.
And implementing controls.
Right. Absolutely. That's great. That's a beautiful segue into my next question, which is, or talking point really. Let's talk about the human side of technology.
Right.
Because it's really easy. I mean, I know we're all guilty of it, right? It's easy to, again, just rely on technology and tools and AI aside. There's so many things that make our lives so much easier. And you think, oh, I can get this done. I can do it myself, whatever the case may be. But as we've seen in the brief amount of time that we've spoken, there needs to be that human side of technology.
Correct.
So tell me about that. You've got over 30 years of experience working in this industry. Talk to me about why it's so important to have the human side.
Yeah, it's if you really get into the details of the human side, in very mature businesses where they've kind of gone through the process of implementing controls, at the end of the day, all these businesses end up, choosing some sort of control framework, right? So like SOC 2, ISO 27001, NIST 800. And what those systems do is kind of tie the technology and the human parts together, and force a business to completely think about the whole situation, not just that, I have access control on the door, I could push a button and get in the door. Well, no, who's been given access to that list? How do you remove access from that list when people come in and out of the businesses? Technology alone does not, solve the whole problem, right? There's always going to be a human component to it.
And one thing that I want to talk about a little bit is that I think a lot of small businesses, small companies think, well, who's going to target me? Like, who's going to, like, why is someone going to, target my website or target my database or hack into my accounts? Like, I'm not this giant, company or an organization. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because there is sort of, I think sometimes people have a complacency of like, I'm not important enough to be a target for anyone.
Unfortunately, the way cybersecurity, well, not cyber, but, criminal organizations that are attacking people work nowadays, it's completely automated. So it's
opportunistic.
It's opportunistic, and it really is not targeting anybody specific, right? So, they're buying databases of lists of names and email addresses and phone numbers and relations between you and your friends, and maps of how everybody's connected, and they use all that data to generate like an attack map where they might be attacking you and your sister and your mother, and using kind of those patterns of just knowing about you, right? That they might be running scripts and scraping Facebook and Instagram, and looking at all this stuff is automated, right? There's not a human being at that layer anymore. It's just guys with stolen credit cards buying AI and IT services from Amazon, running all these scripts for free because it doesn't cost them anything, generating data sets, just going to town. Right. And if you're in that field of, that spray attack, you're going to get hit. You might get hit. You might not. But it's a numbers game for them.
Yeah, that's a little scary. So we're going to talk about something else.
It get pretty crazy.
It's a little scary. No, it's a little scary. But again, like I said before, that's why it's so important that you and your company exist and you have the team there that's able to help and provide support.
We've seen all kinds of situations firsthand, over the last 30 years. Unfortunately, I've seen people get robbed hundreds of thousands of dollars and, lose their business, because their whole system got encrypted. And at the end of the day, it's really nothing personal to the attacker. They don't even know who you are.
Exactly. Like you said, it's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game. The day that you're getting attacked, 25 other people got attacked. And even for them, they're looking at it like kind of like a risk thing, right? Well, I attacked 25 people. If I get 15 of them to pay me money, right, I'm doing good.
And it's
so you're kind of like just a consequence of being in the situation. You're on the list that day,
Yeah. I wasn't kidding when I said we were going to talk about something else. We're going to pivot out of the technology conversation, the cybersecurity, because you're making me very nervous. We'll talk after offline about ways that we can be a little bit more protected. But when we talk about VirtuWorks, you talk about the company that you've built, 30 plus years ago. And first and foremost, thank you for your investment to Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce and being a member of the Chamber. But tell me why that's so important for you as a business owner, as someone who has this company, being involved with the Chamber and the community.
Well, in general, business is about community, and it's about, talking to people and, basically being in a room with people and being able to help, listen to them. Over the last couple of years, I would say ever since COVID, I feel very big disconnect in community. A lot of people don't go outside anymore. They don't go talk to people. And that's really kind of, reducing business. It's making it harder for people to engage with new people. So here, this is my attempt to try to make that better, I guess.
I absolutely love that. And we love having you. And like I said, when we talked earlier about the human side of technology, that's part of the human side of technology, like knowing the services that you provide, being able to build that relationship and build that trust. So that now they know that they can put their trust and faith instead of in the technology in you to provide the right solutions and support when needed. And I think that that's so incredibly important. I know I said I was over with the technology, but I do have another question, because I always like to know, like, when you look ahead, when you're looking ahead, and we talked about this before we started, looking ahead, I wanted to be like, Omar, what excites you about the future of technology? Right. But I think it's more of like, now that we've had this conversation, what's keeping you up at night about the future of technology, or both? What's exciting and what's something to be concerned about?
Um, I, I think it really has to do for me, and just watching people implement their ideas behind how they want to implement AI, and I worry about everybody, because what's everybody gonna do when there's nothing to do?
Okay. That's a really great way to we're almost done with the interview with
Yeah.
Omar's really getting me
No,
nervous over here.
I mean, at the end of the day, people need work. They need jobs.
Absolutely.
You have to have a meaning.
And again,
do something.
And that's why I think it's really important. We've had this discussion. We've said it multiple times throughout this entire podcast, having that human side. AI should not be looked at as a replacement for anything, but rather a supplement.
As a supplement. For me, particularly, it's been an incredible kind of like superpower, right? Like, by getting AI and having exposure to it, I'm able to do amazing things with it, right? But those amazing things, at the end of the day, it probably won't need me to even do those amazing things, right? So I'm kind of feeding the system and whatever. So I really do truly believe that AI is a good thing, right? At the end of the day, it's gonna create a lot of lot of abundance, right? And it'll make life a lot easier for people. But in that journey from here to whatever that is, we as a community, as a people, have to really try to figure out how we're going to solve those problems rather than ignoring them when we know they're already coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, like we've said before, it is a tool. It should be leveraged as such, and it should not be used as a replacement for anything.
Yeah, but we can't change the nature of people.
True. Very true. Yeah. All right. So my last question to you as we wrap this up, it's been an amazing conversation. Thank you again. If you can go, this is going to be such an interesting question. If you can go back in time, if you can go back, I don't know, 30 years when you were just starting your company, even before that, or maybe 20 years ago, or whatever the case may be, go back in time, have a conversation with your younger self at any moment. What would you say? What advice would you give? What would that conversation be?
Probably not be so stressed out about everything day to day.
After you just stressed me out.
I'm not stressed about it either. It's kind of things come at you and you can't really control what's ahead. One day you have something, the next day you don't. Yeah. So kind of just look at every day as the next day, and do your best. Absolutely. Look at every day as a gift. Absolutely. Absolutely. And always do your best. So I think that's a beautiful way to sort of wrap up this interesting conversation, this great conversation, Omar. I'm just giving you a hard time, but this is great. Very, very, very informative. I think a lot of people get a lot of good information out of this. And of course, hope they reach out to you if they have any questions or concerns about what their technology, what their cybersecurity looks like. They can reach out to you and your team at VirtuWorks. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you guys for watching. This has been another episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers. And you guys stay tuned for another episode next week.